Are we live? Are
Not
we live?
yet.
I think we're.
Oh, we're
Do you see
live.
us?
Wait,
Do you see
we're
us?
back.
Are we back?
Yay! We're
Can people hear
back.
us?
I don't know. Yay! Oh,
Hello,
we got a
yay!
yay. We got a yay.
Can you hear both of us?
Oh, wow. It takes two NTDs to fix a stream
Oh
with a
my
forum
gosh!
help.
Oh my gosh! Thank you for whoever said something about Windows Update. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that
And
was
then
King Bishop.
King Bishop, thank you.
There
Yeah,
we
so
go.
we had to, but then we lost desktop audio too, so we couldn't work out how to get desktop audio. Anyway,
It's awesome.
John,
We're
let's
here.
get up.
Hi.
Let's get on with the show.
Let's do some
God's sake.
trivia.
Let's do it, folks. Hopefully, there's still plenty of you here in the chat. So thank you. I would have had to solve it tomorrow morning as well for the morning membership event. Anyway, so let's get on with this. Yes, I'm blaming Windows all the time. John, tonight we are going to talk about club and local TD stuff, and we apologize, folks. Hopefully, you're back with us. And hopefully you didn't go too far. We apologize. We lost 20 minutes there, but stay with us. We will get through this. So what I wanted to mention first was that if you're a tournament director and you've done a club or a local or a senior to any type of test, you get an email back that tells you, hey, you either passed or you failed. Here are the questions you got wrong. And that by TDCC policy, we're not allowed to tell you what the correct answers are. So we can't tell you what the correct answers are to the questions that are causing problems in the club and the local TD tests. However, we can discuss those subject areas, and because we like the trivia and it's trivia night, we've got our own various trivia to work on these questions. So let me go ahead and John, we're going to discuss the first problem area here tonight. Trivia night, no right answers given. Yeah, that's right. We never give right answers in trivia anyway. So let's.
It wouldn't do much good. I haven't taken a local or club TD test in years, so.
Well, let's not go there. So hey, folks. So we did a whole episode on rateable time controls. So there's an entire episode on this. However, this is one of the questions that people get wrong the most. What I want you to concentrate on is, as you know, that US Chess rates various different time controls under different rating systems: regular, dual, quick only, or blitz here at the bottom. So, and depending on the playing time, the tournament could be regular rated only. It could be dual, which means it's quick and regular. So if it falls within this bracket here, 30 to 65 minutes. And then quick only is if a player has more than 10 minutes and less than 30 minutes. Now, MM plus SS, what does MM plus SS means? That's the number of minutes plus seconds. This is usually delay or increment. So you've got to add together the number of minutes in the time control, say game in 20, and then a 5-second delay. So you'd get to 25. So is 25 between 10 and 30? Yes, it is. So that would be an quick only rating system. Are people still able to hear us? There's not a lot of chat going on. So I just want to make sure people have stopped chatting and they're actually listening to us. I'm boring them to death.
I want to get to the questions. That's
right. So let's make sure. Can everyone still hear John? Because he's gone very quiet on my end. Can everyone still hear him?
Everyone can hear me?
Trying to count to 20. John is very quiet. Oh, there we go.
Quiet.
Yeah, oh, there we go. You got louder suddenly. So, okay. So let's go ahead and get to one of the questions that sort of causes problems here with the test. Yeah, he's very low on my end too. So, John, whatever you can. If you speak,
I'll speak loud.
Turn your volume up. Yeah,
yeah.
Right. Maybe I've got my headphones set low or something.
I think you got my volume turned down.
Yeah, maybe. No, I think you're coming through. So let's get to one of the questions. So here's the very first trivia question, folks. So go ahead and type your chat. Type your answer. Sorry, type your chat. 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat. Which of the following is a quick chess only time limit? Is it 1, gaming 30, delay 5, 2, gaming 25, delay 0, 3, gaming 8, delay 3, or 4, both answers 2 and 3.
Oh boy. How long do we have to wait now, Chris?
So I normally give people a few seconds to answer here. So we have one vote in.
We
so
got
don't be
one
shy,
vote.
votes. Just go ahead and vote, just as you would if you were normally taking this as a test. This is exactly sort of how you would see it if you were doing a club and a local test. They'd give you a question and it's multiple choice. So
now I will tell you, this confused me too.
Between 10 and 30 seconds to answer, please. Yes, it's a quick only question. So you get between 10 and 30 seconds to answer. After that, it becomes a dual rated question. All right, let's go ahead and close.
All right.
I'm going to close the answers off here, John. John, can you put people out of their misery here while I set the next one up? So we had most people said 4, but some people said 3.
Right. So let's see. Number 1 is game in 30, delay 5. So 30 plus 5 is 35. That is not between our 10 and 30. So that is not quick rated.
It's quick only. 25. Remember, it's quick only. So it's very important that we're quick only. Right.
25 and 0. That's between 10 and 30. That's quick only. 8 and 3. So some people thought this might be blitz. Actually, that was me. But 8 plus 3 is 11. That's between 10 and 30. So that's also quick. So the answer here is number 4. Number 2 and 3 are quick.
2 and 3 are quick only. It's very important that you register quick only. Game in 30, delay 5 is quick rated because it's dual rated, but it's not quick only. So just watch out for that word only. So I think this might be also where some TDs are getting tripped up on the question. Because game in 30, delay 5 is actually quick rated because it's dual rated. So it's both regular and quick rated. But we're looking for only ones that are quick chess only time limit. So you just got to watch out for the wording on that one. So and you may or may not find that in an actual club or local TD test. So let's get on to
nice disclaimer.
Let's go to the next set of rules. Everybody knows how to promote a pawn, right? We're tournament directors. We should know how to promote a pawn. But what I'd like to bring your attention to, and something that we don't often discuss when it comes to promoting a pawn, is when are you able to press the clock after you've promoted a pawn. So obviously that is when my pawns never get that far. Obviously, after you have actually exchanged. So it says a pawn must immediately be exchanged as part of the same move for a player's choice, queen, rook, bishop, knight, the same color. After the piece has been released on that square is when you can basically, the move is determined, so now you can complete it and press the clock, right? So you've got 8f6 here that talks about pawn promotion. And then you've also got 8f7. Promoted piece not available, and 8f7 also talks about if the desired piece is not available, you can stop the clock, go locate it, you can then get that piece once the piece is put onto the so once it's released on that square. All right, once it touches the square, it's determined, but once it's released and everything, you can then go ahead and hit the clock. So here it talks about going and getting the piece. An upside down rook is considered a queen, but it says here it's improper to press the clock to start the opponent's time with the pawn still on the last rank. If this is done, the opponent may immediately restart the player's clock without moving. As soon as the new piece is placed on the board, either player should restart the clock. So this rule also talks about, I'm going to go back one slide here. This rule talks about when pawn promotion is done, the promotion piece is placed on the 8th rank, promotion square touch to which the pawn will be moved. And so you've got two rules here that talk about pawn promotion. This one's about the piece not being available, and this one is about pawn promotion. I'm going to ask you a trivia question now. I'm going to open the polls. This one should be very easy. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Go ahead and type it in the chat. When promoting a pawn, it is improper to punch the clock with the pawn still on the board. The clock is correctly punched after what? The new queen is released on the board, the new rook is released on the board, the new knight is released on the board, or any of the above.
So we see this in scholastics all the time, and when and when our good buddy Kiki is playing chess as well. All right. The poor bishop.
I know. So actually, yeah. So we're in the TD show. We're used to just 4 options, and it was really hard to fit the bishop in. I was going to put the new knight and or bishop is released on the board, but I went with 4 options, folks. This is a very, very easy question. However, this is not the question that most commonly TDs get wrong on the test. So
it's a bishop.
All right, so let me close this one off, and John can put you out of misery and let you know what the right answer should be.
It was number 4. Any of the above. Exactly. Keyword is released on the board.
Now, so let me go to where the issue is with the actual TD test. There's a question that says, I need to paraphrase because I'm not allowed to actually give the test question and the answer. It relates to this question. However, it says, how did you get this answer? Which rules did it relate to? So if you just go back and redo the show, rewind it a few minutes, you'll actually see which rules we found the answer to this question using. So anyway, take that for what it's worth. So let's go on.
Let's move on.
Pawn promoting. We all know it. Let's get on. Oh, analog clocks. Don't we all still use those in our tournaments? Everybody uses analog clocks still, right? Not a digital clock to be seen. So, hey, analog clocks. For those of you who are fairly new TDs, maybe 21st century TDs, might not have seen an analog clock in use. But so it's really simple. Analog clock, that's one with a face and handles on it. If you set those for a time control, they need to be set so that 6 p.m. is the first time control when the flag falls, and this is so the little hand is far away from the big hand, to make it very obvious so that you don't get confused. And then the next time control should fall at 7 o'clock and then 8 o'clock, and this way the tournament directors should be able to tell which time control, which time period players are in as well while they're watching a game with an analog clock. But it's very important to note that the first time control period expires at 6 o'clock. Therefore, when you're setting your time control, you set the time to whatever time it would be. For instance, if it's gaming 90, right, you set the time to 4:30 4:30, doesn't matter, AM or PM, 4:30, and then the flag falls at 6 p.m. or 6 o'clock. So it's very important to know that, but because we don't really use analog clocks anymore, people don't necessarily know this type of thing anymore. They've sort of forgot it a little bit. Or Enrique.
42, 21, 30, 30.
Set it to 4 o'clock. All set. Every indication, so defective clocks. So if you have defective clock, every indication given by a clock is considered to be conclusive in the absence of an evident defect. Player who claims a defect must do so, blah, blah. Defective clocks, all right? The director uses judgment in determining what times should be shown on the new clock. Hope you've all got pen and paper because we're going to be doing some math. All right, so bring up the question. So we've looked at defective clocks. We looked at analog clocks. We know what time those should be set to. Let's get on with the question. So I'm going to open the poll here. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Remember to type your answer in the chat. It's a little bit of an in-depth question. So, second round of a Gaming 60 Delay 5 tournament begins promptly at 4 p.m. So that's the start time for the tournament. Remember, that's the start time of the tournament. After the 15th move on board 3, the wall clock shows 4:40 p.m. So we can all know how long there has been since we started the round. Hopefully you're working out that to be 40 minutes. But the analog chess clock reads white, says 5:16, and black 5:04. White protests, claiming black side of the clock has stopped running. You investigate and find that black side of the clock works perfectly once you wind it up. So you wind this clock up. Black side has obviously stopped working at some point, but it works well after you've wound it up. But white side of the clock has not malfunctioned. So white side of the clock has been working perfectly the whole time. Player asks you to set the clocks appropriately. What time should you set? So there's 4 options there. You can see them as well as I can read them, so I'm not going to read them out. But basically, the first one is don't make any adjustments. The second one is black loses the remainder of the time. The third one is split the 20 minutes, I think, that was used and give 10 minutes to either side. And the last one is because 40 minutes has gone in the round, you can't work out what has happened. You just give either player 20 minutes off their clock, irrespective of what you think they've used. So which one of those 4 options do you think would be best? We have nobody voting. Did everyone leave us?
Oh, we have a couple votes coming in.
I think they had to do math, John. It's a
tough question.
It is a very tough question.
What are they being?
So let me start. Let me ask you the. At what time, John? What time should we set an analog clock for if it's a Gaming 60 tournament? What time do we need to set the analog clock for?
Well, if we set the clock to
where should the big hand and the little hand be? Yes, 5 o'clock.
Then at 6 it would expire.
Right, exactly. Yeah. At 6 o'clock, both folks would expire at 6 o'clock. Because remember, there's two phases, so you set them both to 5 o'clock.
See, I think what's tricky about this question is the rules. Talk about splitting time, and they talk about if you don't know what it should be, or if the clock is completely malfunctioning, take the time from when the round started and split it amongst the 2 players. It's a kind of a tricky question.
Right. And the TD does get someone's saying they want to see the rule again. Let me see if I can get defective clocks here. Director should use judgment in determining what time shall be shown on the new clock. You've just got to make sure you leave the player with the greater of either 5 minutes to the time control, at least 1 minute for each move. Well, it's a gaming, so 1 minute for each move won't necessarily work. It's okay. You're okay to guess.
It's good. I guessed on this like 3 times on my local exam.
Most people who are doing the local or club TD tests are just guessing anyway. No.
What about the delay 5?
Right. What about the delay 5?
Yeah, on an analog clock, you can't support a delay 5.
So then I'm just going to set the clock to 4:55 and start there.
and then you could do something. What do you think? Should we walk through the logic here?
Let's put them out the misery. So, John, let's go ahead and let them know. So we had most people vote for 2, and some people voted for 4.
Right. So on this one, I think the key here is that you investigate, and black side of the clock works perfectly after winding, and white side of the clock has not malfunctioned. So since white side of the clock has not malfunctioned, you don't want to touch white's time. So it's got to be either 1 or 2 since it's 5:16. And since you don't want to keep it at 5:04 since their round has been 40 minutes into the round, number 2 is the correct answer. You add the 20 minutes to black's time to show what the elapsed time would have been. 24 plus 16 is 40 minutes. And so number 2 is our answer.
Exactly. And black still has more than 5 minutes, so we're keeping in with that rule. Someone did point out the old rule for analog was to add 5 minutes for a delay. So that, remember now with analog clocks, you don't add anything for delay or increment. They just, if they're not using a digital clock, they lose that. The correct answer here is number 2. Once you've looked into it, as John said, black was the only clock that was really malfunctioning. So the 20 minutes that's missing from the round somewhere really should come off black's clock. So black will only then have 36 minutes left to complete the rest of the game, and white has 44 minutes. There we go. See, we all worked that one out very nicely. Let's move on to the next question. Ooh, prizes. Ooh, this is where we get really mathematical.
You really need to get a pen and pencil.
Yeah, you need a pen and paper for this one. Yep, and as Harold's saying, you can do whatever you want if you announce it in advance. So, so prizes. prize funds is where a lot of people, and there are a lot of questions related to prize funds in all the club and the local TDs. So I'm just giving some generalizations here. And it's very difficult to work out prize pools, but what you got to remember is that all the test questions in club and local TD tests are not going to go overboard with what they're asking you to do, like really, really in-depth prize stuff and everything. There's a fun question on the senior test, which relates to prize funds that I think is very fun because it has the same prizes for various things and which priority do you give them in and stuff like that. But let's just basically go over cash prizes. So 1 cash prize per player. Anyone who watched Tim Just's TD show where he gave his Tim Just top 10 tips? That's quite the mouthful. He was reminding people that you can't have more prizes in the pot than there are people. So you can't put 5 prizes into a pot where there's only 4 players. So 1 cash prize per player. Tied winners of place prizes or the same class of class prizes are all summed and divided equally. So this gets a little confusing. But tied winners. So if you equal first, second, third, you put those prizes together. If there's 3 people, you divide them equally, right? If you get the same class, meaning class A, class B, expert, stuff like that, you do the same thing there. Tied winners of different prizes are all summed and divided equally, unless any winner receives more money by winning a prize others are ineligible for. So this, say for instance, is a class A player in with first, with first, second, probably not first, second, but in with third and fourth, or something like that, in a class A prize. He would get more if he took that by himself than sharing third, fourth, and class A between the 3 of them. Then he gets that prize by himself, and the other 2 players just get third and fourth. So, and then the priority of identical prizes. So if you happen to make third place $50 and the top class A place is $50, third place actually takes a higher priority than the top class A prize. So the priority of identical prizes: place prize, class prize in class order, and then special prize, top junior, top senior, top woman, anything along those lines. Very, very brief prize summary, but it's well worth remembering this very, very simple.
It's a good write-up.
Yeah, I think so. But let's get it. So I think the next thing is the question. So we're obviously going to have a question on prizes. You might need a bit of a calculator here to work out some of the prizes. It's quite in depth, but I wanted to make it not the same, obviously, as the question that people get wrong on the test, but very similar in fashion. So let's get on to the question here. So I'm going to open the poll. It's probably a little early for people to have come up with their vote. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there you have. They're all guaranteed prizes. Here are the people, their ratings, and their scores. Here are the prizes. And then which of these prize distributions would be accurate? And what I really should have done was give an explanation of what each of these prize distributions mean, because they are all sort of, it is designed to throw you off and come up with something that might look like legitimate prize distributions, but there's certain ways we need to work this out. So I think the no-brainer is Axel is taking first, $500. But the rest is what's the complicated aspect of it. So I'll give you all a few minutes to potentially think about this. I'll be very impressed if someone gets this right by TD show standards of how quick we move on in the show here.
There you go. I think people are confused on the names, Chris.
Yeah, well, I'm in there, so I think Chris takes first prize.
Right. I think people are, they're not sure what to do there.
Yeah. So I would go with number 2 because Chris gets a bigger share of the pot in that one.
That's not a bad one to get, huh?
Right. So you just got to remember that, what I was telling you about place prizes and then class prizes. And then you've got to look at ratings. So you've got to remember classes. So for those who don't know, anyone between 2,000 and 2199, all of these players here are expert players. And anyone between 19 Actually 1800
1800
and
and
1999 are Class A players, and Harry is a Class B player. So no votes yet. Wow, are people doing the math? You think people?
It's a lot of math.
You think they're doing the math, or they've just tuned out at this point?
I think they tuned out. They read Axel and Brian and got to Chris and said, "I'm done."
I wish my rating was that high. No, I think it might
I think it might be close to that.
Hard. Yeah, this is a hard question, Rob. But you know what? There's a question that's very similar to this on the Club TD test. So you might think it's hard, but working out prizes is a basic duty of tournament directors. Now, you might plumb these into your software and have that calculate
have
the prizes
the software
for you.
do it.
So, but you, as the tournament director, are sort of, it's your responsibility is paying prizes, and your organizer might be very annoyed if you pay the prizes out wrong, and you have to either work out how to get prizes back or just pay new prizes to players. They lose more money and stuff like that. So, it is somewhat difficult, right? But I'm not going to really do a lot of calculation here. I'm just going to do tell you who gets which prize, basically.
I'm going to do the calculation.
We're starting to get some to get some votes. So, and we've got two national tournament directors that have both decided to go for 3, and we've got one person going for 1. So it looks like people are starting to work out the calculations here.
Yeah.
All right, so another clue is, remember, these guys all have 4.5 here, but because there's 4 of them, you cannot have more than 4 prizes in this pot for these 4 to share, if they do indeed end up sharing them. So remember, no more than 1 prize per player, and you can never have more prizes in the pot than there are players.
Yeah, this one is certainly a doozy.
Yeah. So we got some more answers for 1.
I think the other hint here is that you always get the higher dollar amount.
Right. That's right. I don't know if I had that on the table, did I? In terms of prize priority.
I don't think you did.
But in terms of identical prizes, right? That was
right.
Then I mentioned that if they're identical.
Right. If you're due for 2 prizes, you get the.
But I think it's got to be pretty clear that the priority of a prize is based on the higher amount, and if the amount ends up being the same. I don't think there's any prizes here that are the same, so we don't get an identical prize issue. But
not on this one, but
a higher priority prize is one that gives them more money. So and you always take the higher priority prize. All right, let's go ahead and close this off, John. So we got 5 votes in. So how would you go about explaining what the right answer is here?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Axel gets 500 for first, right? So we have 4 people tied at 4.5, right? And 3 of them are experts, and 1 of them is an A player. So if you look at the prize of second, third, fourth plus expert, and you add those 4 up and divide it by 4, you get 181.25. And since Ernie at 1999 is a Class A player, the question is 181.25 higher than 150? So yes, so he would get 181.25. So that gets us down to either answers.
Can I just correct you on 1 point?
Yeah.
So you mentioned second, third, fourth, and expert. So that obviously we don't. So this is where it gets confusing. 4th place doesn't come into this pot. So actually, Brian is going to bring in second because that's the highest priority thing. Chris is going to bring in top expert because that's the highest priority of all the remaining prizes, all right, that we haven't given out. Dave, who is here, is going to bring in 3rd place because he's not eligible for the Class A prize. Okay, but Ernie here, who is a Class A player, doesn't bring in 4th place. He actually brings in the Class A prize into the pot.
That's where I was getting
So the pot is 2nd, 3rd, expert, and Class A.
Right.
are the 4 prizes that go into the pot for those 4 players. And as you said, if you take those 4 prizes and divide it by 4, you get the 181.25, which is more than the 150. So
Right.
Ernie does join in the 4-way tie here and share all these prizes. So Brian, Chris, and Dave are actually taking a share of this Class A prize, even though they're not Class A players. But it doesn't matter. So they come into this pot. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the second, third, expert, and Class A prizes are the 4 prizes that go into the pot for the 4.5 players, and that is divided equally and split. So we end up with 181.25.
And so what that leaves, it leaves the 4th place prize at 50, which then is split between Frank and George, who are in Class A, because they get the next available prize. And Harry, being Class B, gets the 100, since that is greater than what he would have shared if he split the 25 plus the 50 plus 100.
Exactly.
So the answer is 3.
Yep. So the correct answer is 3, because Frank, George, and Harry all finished on 4 points, right? So they can bring in all these prizes. So they bring in this $50 prize here and the $100 prize here, because Harry can get that one. However, Harry, if you took that prize 150 and divided it by 3, you would only get $50. Well, Harry can get $100 by taking the Class B prize all by himself. So he takes that by himself, which leaves Frank and George just left sharing the $50 here. Confusing? Absolutely. Does it make sense?
Let's do one without math.
Yeah, I don't think there is one without math. No, there is one without math. So prize funds is a big issue. Understanding how prize pots and they get divided, and bringing in prizes like the Class A prize, even though the majority of players are not Class A, is part of learning what to do as a TD. Hopefully this provides a good example of how you would do that and bring those in. But as Rob USCF said, yeah, these are sometimes very difficult, but these are of the simpler type, because none of these prizes are the same. What's more difficult is if you get expert prize at 250 and second place is also 250, then it becomes a bit of a mess as well. So, but yeah, it's fun. Prize pots are definitely I'd rather deal with trophies and tiebreaks. There was a whole episode we had with Enrique Huerta, who's on tiebreaks. So if you want to go calculate tiebreaks, go see that episode too. Nobody seems to get those questions wrong, by the way. So, but they definitely get prizes wrong.
I like the participation ribbons. Just makes it real easy. All right, Swiss system rules.
Yep, exactly. So basics. So there are various pairing questions on the club and the local TD tests. None of them are what I would term complicated. All right, you don't have to look beyond these very few basic Swiss system pointers that we have here. You get this aspect right, you're gonna get the pairing questions on the local and club TD test correct. So, but you've got to understand basic stuff, right? So most people nowadays put it into a computer, let the computer do its thing, and they don't understand what it's really doing, okay, especially at the lower levels. If you follow these basic Swiss system principles, you can't go wrong on these questions. I say that, of course you can, but you shouldn't go wrong on these questions. So avoid players meeting twice. Even on the senior TD test, people get 0 points for their software, for a pairing question, because they paired the same players that have already played against each other. Right, that's the first rule you never violate, okay? So, avoid players meeting twice. It's the highest priority. Equal scores, try and pair people on equal scores, obviously. Upper half versus lower half, that means, the first round, if you got 10 players, 1 through 5 players 6 through 10, right? Try and keep that upper half, lower half stuff. And then equalizing colors and then alternating colors. Equalizing colors, the equal number of whites and blacks, and then alternating, if you go white, black, white, then you want someone to go black, or it's more, in like an even numbered round where you get 2 rounds white, black, well, you really want the player to have white in the next round. But it's not that high a priority as some of the other things. So let's get on to the basic pairing question. Of course, you knew one of those was coming up if we were talking about pairings. So I'm gonna open up the poll for answers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Select the best third round pairings for this 3-round Swiss system tournament. So the only thing I will note to you is be aware, because the cross table here is not in standing order. So this guy on 2 points is actually leading the tournament. Okay.
That's a big hint.
I know, but I have a feeling that might be where people are getting tripped up as well. So just be aware that the cross tables in the test might not always be in standings order. They'll just be wall charts, which are sorted usually by rating, or like this is by rating. So go ahead and see if you can work out. There's 4 pairings, obviously, and we've even gone ahead and given you the bottom board.
Yeah. And I'll do a shout out to Karen at NTD and say hi.
Hi, Karen.
I'm following the chat.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Karen was on the show when Enrique was on the show. She made an
appearance.
Yes, just a very quick.
Yeah.
She made a quick appearance by Kiki's side, and then disappeared like a good TD, never to be seen again, unless there was a need of one.
Unless there was a need, just got to raise your hand.
Right. I see she said you too, Chris, but not you too, John.
Yeah, well, I got the earlier shout out, so it was. Oh, she can hear us.
Yeah, of course. Oh, she must be tuning. Well, every good TD is tuning into this show, Jen.
What I like about multiple choice questions, Chris, is you can always rule them out. Like, it's definitely not 1, 2, 3, or 4, right? Looks like we got an answer coming in.
Yeah, exactly. Harold Stenzel, first in his class as usual.
Yeah, I think people rely on the pairing software to do this for you too much, huh?
It's convenient, that's for sure. But, I mean, you have software for a reason, and the whole reason is to make your life easier, right? So you might as well use it. But invariably, if you do get a question and you're asked to explain it, of course, as Rob, USCF, I think, said, or someone said earlier, the software does offer explanations if you can work out the convoluted explanations that you sometimes get from both Swisses and WinTD.
I used to use cards too, Harold.
Not me.
Not you.
No, I've used.
How many nationals did I have to repair by hand on the fly, Chris? Some backroom guy
using pairing cards. I don't know.
Not pairing cards, but
okay.
That would be fun, right?
Yeah.
Everybody write your name out.
I've been into trouble for pairing on the fly.
Right.
Following directions and orders. So we have various votes for 2. So this is good. We're getting some votes in. So anyone else? Enrique there voting as well. Also going for 2.
Yeah.
I can't believe everyone's going for 2. This must be why I will get this wrong.
We might, yeah. They're copying Harold.
I know how. Harold, you should hold off next time with your vote.
Right.
And go with something else. WinTD or Swiss is better. Ooh, I'm staying away from that. As a US Chess staff member, I'm staying away from that one.
Events for Chess supports both, Chris.
That's right. Events for Chess. How did we forget? Oh, look at what popped up at the same
there
time.
It is, right there.
Ta-da. Which is easier? So I spent a lot of time using WinTD, and WinTD is used at National Scholastics and in Vegas at National Open. And when I was running my club, I used WinTD. Now I work for US Chess. I actually, because it's my FIDE events manager tag, I have to use SwissSys since it's only approved FIDE pairing program here in the US that does both US Chess and FIDE stuff. So I utilize SwissSys a lot more now than WinTD. Of course, I know I still have WinTD and still can use it. But if I was doing an event right now, chances are it would be FIDE. So I would probably end up using SwissSys. But
I think it depends on the type of event, right?
Once you get going into both of them, yeah, I've heard people say WinTD is better at like the national, the team events,
right,
and stuff like that. I don't know if that's still the case. But both should come up with reasonable pairings. Let's put it that way. But it's all a question of learning to use them and knowing how to use them. I find SwissSys looks a little more graphically pleasing than WinTD with its little text boxes and stuff. But and SwissSys, I will say this about SwissSys over WinTD. SwissSys is far more up to date, and they come up with updates very often. Whereas I think WinTD, the last update I got for that was quite a few years ago, maybe. When they went to version 4.2C or something. I can't remember. But it's not as up to date, I don't think, as SwissSys. But then the US chess pairing rules really haven't changed much at all. No. I don't think over many years. So SwissSys updates are more to do with this FIDE side of things, I think. So all right, let's go ahead and close this off. So we've got.
It looks like we had a. we had
consensus on number
answer.
2.
Yeah,
exactly.
Number 2 is correct.
Right. So I don't understand why people are getting this wrong then on the test, because people are getting these type of questions wrong on the test. Oh, Terry Winchester, I don't know what you can, Terry.
Yeah, so Brian being the number 2 plays Dave, and since Brian is due black, Brian gets black. So that basically rules 3 and 4 out, leaves you with 1 and 2, and then you've got Axel and Ernie, or Axel and Frank, as Axel being your highest one, and Axel has already played Ernie and has played Brian, so Axel would actually play Frank. So that's how we get to number 2. Yep. And then the rest kind of works itself out.
Right. Exactly. So remember, we've got a 2 and a 1.5 here. We really need those two to play each other if they haven't already. And they haven't, so they play. And as the 2 points is the higher seed, basically higher rank, so he gets his due color, as John said. And then if you take the 2 1s and these 2 1s here, you want top half against bottom half. Well, Axel has already played Ernie, so we look at Axel against Frank, sticking with the top half, bottom half. And they can play each other. And because Axel's higher rated, we're going to give him the color, I believe. He gets white, Frank gets black. And then that leaves the other 2 1s, Chris and Ernie, to play each other. And those colors alternate. And then, of course, we've got Harry and George down here at the bottom. Way to go. So let's go ahead and we didn't have Harold to copy from on the test. Right.
Yeah.
That's right. So let's get on to the next TD question here.
Late arrival.
The next rule. So we're talking about we're going to do a quick review of the rule, and then we'll get on to the next trivia question. The player who arrives at the chessboard more than 1 hour late for the beginning of the game, or arrives after the expiration of the first or only time control period, whichever comes first, loses the game. The absence countdown begins at the actual starting time of the round, which is not always the scheduled starting time. A director who learns that a player is unavoidably delayed may waive the 1 hour forfeit rule. So one thing to remember is you get 1 hour to show up. These are default US chess rules, remember. So if an organizer says something different, you use whatever those are. However, when you're answering these rules questions on the test, use the US chess rules, unless it says something different. So 1 hour late for the beginning of the game, or arrives after the expiration of the first or only time control, whichever comes first. And then remember, the absence countdown begins at the actual starting time of the round. Okay? which is not always the scheduled starting time. So you could start
Right.
around at 3:30, and when it was scheduled to start at 3 o'clock. You obviously don't want to do that if you can, but yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's why it's
anyway.
important, when we run the nationals, to write down the time that we actually start, 'cause it's not always on the hour.
Right, exactly. So let's get on to our trivia question. So let me go ahead and open the poll here. So remember, we're answering this per US chess rules and this question. So the fourth round of the tournament began at the announced time of 3 o'clock. Yay, we started the round on time, 3
All
o'clock.
right.
Board
Good job.
5, White did not start the clock of his absent opponent until 3:10 p.m. So obviously White must have turned up late and Black turned up late. For some reason that clock didn't start until 3:10 p.m.
Analog clock should have been set to 4 o'clock, Chris.
Right. No, this is the actual time that they started the clock at. It could have said 4 o'clock. So the time control is 14, 120, sudden F30, delay 5. If Black still fails to show up, when can White first claim a forfeit win? So is it 4:11 p.m., 4:10 p.m., 4:05 p.m., or 4 p.m.?
Let's see. Did you open up? Oh, you did open it up.
We're
We're not too quick to answer this
I opened up the voting.
Yeah. I haven't seen Harold's vote yet. So
Right,
people are
Harold,
taking their
hold off
time.
on your vote. Right. Oh, look at that vote.
Yeah, that's an interesting vote.
Is everyone going to follow suit?
Everyone's going to follow suit. Oh, waiting for Harold, yeah.
Rob's vote is waiting for Harold. Oh, and then he decides to copy the other NTD that's in the room.
Interesting.
Yeah. Harold should have gone first.
We got them all over the place on this
We
one.
do. 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Wow. That's good. This is a good discussion.
That's a very good question. Yeah, this is good. Very good. People. There's no math involved in this one, or is there?
I don't know. It really depends if it's an analog or digital clock, though.
So.
I don't know who are TDs.
I think there's a few TD. Harold definitely is a TD. He's got NTD Harold in his name. Enrique Alia EJ is Enrique Wetter, who is the national tournament director as well. Someone wants to change their vote to 4. I'm just gonna quickly come over here and go back. The absence countdown begins at the actual starting time of the round.
Are you second guessing yourself?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Just making sure. I took this test multiple times, so I know, I know what it's got to be. I think I answered this question at least 4 times.
We've got 10 votes here, so I'm going to close the voting off. We're going to announce the voting here. I think there was one last minute change to number 4 from a 2 to a 4. John, what would you say your answer is to this one?
Well, you asked me this question in the car the other day, and I had to really think about it because, like most people, I was going, an hour after 3:10 goes to 4:10. But the reality is the round started at 3. So regardless of when White showed up and started the opponent's clock, an hour after 3 is 4 o'clock, and that's when they can claim a forfeit win.
Yep, the answer is 4 p.m. Anyway, so you can see how people get this wrong. And also, I think Harold definitely works a lot of CCA events, which has a totally different rule set for this as well. Based on, if a guy shows up late, it's an hour on the clock, I think. They've got to wait an actual hour, right. Or something along those lines. So the correct answer here was 4 p.m. The round started at 3 p.m.
Right.
It's 1 hour from the start of the round, which to me adds up to 4 p.m. So that is legitimately when they can claim a forfeit win.
Yeah, we've seen this at the Nationals many times. You start the round 5 minutes late, and you have to wait till 5 minutes after in order to claim that win, right?
Right.
So it really depends on when you start the round.
Exactly. All right. So, hey, good lessons learned. All right.
There's a question on how many times you can take the test, Chris.
How many times can you take the test? You can take the test as many times as you would like. You basically keep taking it until you fail it, until you pass it. However, there is the first time you fail it, there's a 2-month wait, and then the second time and subsequent time you fail them, there's a 6-month wait. So you'll get there eventually. It just might take you a while. So
that's right.
And of course, it's a different test every time. So you won't get the same test over and over and over again. Let's get on to I really don't like this one, but let's discuss it anyway.
Oh man, this is another doozy.
Oh boy, this is the fun one. Yeah, and as Harold's saying, you can't start the clock until the board and everything is set up as well. But of course, it doesn't matter. The board and clock and everything can be set up. He could have started it half an hour into that round. He would have still been able to claim a forfeit win at 4 p.m. because it's 1 hour after the start of the round. So 14D, insufficient material. So this is insufficient material to continue. This basically is in the draw section, right? 14. The game is drawn when one of the following endings exists as of the most recently determined legal move, in which the possibility of a win is excluded for either side. Effective 1/1/19. Well, we can ignore that. So this is basically talking about a couple of situations, and we're going to see here. But if you get king versus king, for instance, that obviously that's insufficient material to continue for both sides. Neither player can win that. All right, that's like a no-brainer. So 14D4 is a subsection of this. No legal moves leading to checkmate by the opponent. If there are no legal moves that could lead to the player being checkmated by the opponent. So if a player can't get checkmated by the opponent, then it's considered, insufficient material to continue, and it's a draw, right? So it's still these moves are not, these rules don't make an awful lot of sense the way we're showing them here, because we're just showing like this one rule. So let's see where that comes into play. So I've shown you a rule that is not necessarily referenced by anything relating to this question, but it is applicable to this question. So
way to stump them, Chris.
What? You said what? What did you say? Yeah, I know. So let's look at the question and then we'll explain it, where 14D4 comes into effect, right? White is in severe time pressure and plays rook h7 check. So this is the position. White plays rook h7 check, hits his clock, and after he's hit his clock, black points out that white ran out of time. What should you rule? So 1, rule it a win by white because black is already checkmated. 2, rule it a win by white because the only legal moves, black playing queen takes h7 and then rook takes h7 mate, resulting black being checkmated again. 3, rule it a draw because white is out of time and no legal moves can lead to black checkmating white. Or 4, rule it a win by black because white ran out of time and black still has a queen.
Such a confusing question.
It really is confusing. Basically, white plays rook h7 check, hits the clock, but has run out of time. What's the result of this game, right?
Right.
You have to take into account the position.
And of course, as a director, when you get to that board, there's going to be checkmate on the board too. So it makes it even that much more confusing.
So I dislike this. I just dislike this question being on the club and local TD tests. Full stop. It's convoluted. It's difficult. I can see why a lot of people get this one wrong.
Yeah.
And I can see why I don't necessarily agree with the answer that's on the TD test. But we need everyone to review this and basically rule it the way that we need to do to get the TD test right. So we have votes for 1 that have been changed into 4.
We have
Like
somebody
I don't
thinking.
get it. Right. So basically white plays rook h7 check and then hits the clock, but black claims that white has lost on time. So white's flag has fallen.
Right.
Black makes that claim. What's the ruling? What what happens?
I want to
Here?
see. I want to see
Does black
what
win? Does white win? Is it a draw? Is it?
we think we need to answer the way the TDC. Have you ever been on the TDCC, Kiki?
I think you were. Were you a member of TDCC at one time, John?
I was.
You was.
I was at one point in time.
Did they kick you off when you got? Did they kick you off when you got all the local tests wrong?
They did. It was this question too, I think.
Online servers, but yeah, don't rule it on online servers. This is a regular US chess Reddit game here. The online world does cause us a few issues with this question too. Online servers would definitely rule it a white loss for sure.
What do you think? Should we close it and talk through it?
FIDE would definitely rule it a different way as well. So the FIDE would definitely rule it the way I think US chess wants to rule it. So let's go ahead. The voting is closed. So we had. Wow. It says we had a vote for 1, but I think they wanted to change that vote to 4. I think everybody went for 4 here, John. But how?
Well, let's talk through it. So with number 1, white's not black isn't checkmated, so we can roll that one off, right away. Rule it a win by white because the only legal move results in black being checkmated. That would be nice, although his flag fell, so that one's also ruled out. Let's go to number 4 here. Rule it a win by black because white ran out of time and black still has a queen. So that makes a lot of sense, right? Black still has mating material, white ran out of time. The problem is we got to go back to your rule slide for just 1 second, Chris.
Yep. Can you see?
So the rule is in 14d4, no legal moves leading to checkmate by opponent, and there are no legal moves that could lead to the player being checkmated by the opponent. So let's go back to the question. And if we look at answer number 3, rule it a draw because white is out of time, and no legal moves can lead to black checkmating white. So if you take the clock out of the picture for a second, after rook h7, black is forced to play queen takes rook, and then rook takes queen will lead to checkmate. So black has no other moves but to be checkmated. And so therefore, since black cannot continue without a move that doesn't lead to checkmate, they cannot win on time, and because white ran out of time, they cannot win because of checkmate. So it's ruled a draw. Very confusing.
It's highly convoluted, but yeah. So the idea is the only legal moves lead to white checkmating black. So black cannot possibly win this position. Right? Exactly. However, since white is out on time, white can no longer win this position. So white can't win this position. It's basically the same as the FIDE rule, right? So there's no legal set of moves. So there's no legal set of moves that lead to black ever winning this. So basically, if you go back to here, no legal, it's determined possibility of a win is excluded for either side. So black can't possibly win this because he's going to get checkmated with the only legal moves left. And white can't possibly win this because he's run out of time and therefore can't win it. So yeah, so this game, it actually should be ruled a draw. We know it's difficult. It's difficult because 14D and 14D4 is not referenced in 13C, which is the time forfeit claim. That reference is 14E that talks about insufficient material to win on time, where you'd think this conversation would arise. But anyway, so this is the ruling. So if there's no set of legal moves, if someone wins on time, however, they don't have any set of legal moves that lead to them checkmating the opponent, however stupid those moves are, then they can't actually win that game. It should be ruled a draw. That's why I'm reading that.
And to Charles' question on how does it affect a USCF online event, the online server is going to say that White lost on time, and White would have to claim a draw and protest it.
Right. Exactly. And then it would be up to the tournament director as to whether they had some specific rules saying we're going by whatever the service is, or we're using the US chess rules. And we'll overrule that.
And then they might get the question wrong and
However,
it anyways.
There is a very similar question to this on the TD test.
Right.
And you have to rule it the way that we ruled it here tonight. So just be aware of that. And hopefully it looks like everybody learned something here tonight. Yeah. So let's get on to a lovely subject area, insufficient losing chances in sudden death. However, we're going to basically not cover all of this. So 14H1, for those who don't know, it's a variation now. It's insufficient losing chances in sudden death used to be the rage many years back, especially in the world of analog clocks and before delay and increment and everything came in. People would get into certain positions, they'd be totally losing on time. However, they'd be up a queen, but their opponent would still carry on playing on, trying to beat them on time. So they had this insufficient losing chances where they could claim a draw, saying, listen, I'm up a queen, there's no way I'm ever losing this. And it was all this class C, could hold it against a master type thing, and it's all in the rules. But now this is a variation. The main 14H rule basically says this is not, you can't claim this anymore. But if this variation is in use, then these claims can be made. So this is talking about 14H1, and then we're going to cover one specific area of the 14H rules that is applicable to the test question that people keep getting wrong. 14H2D, the claim is clearly incorrect. A director who believes the claim is clearly incorrect should deny the claim and may subtract up to 1 minute from the claimant's remaining time. Remember, we're talking about a 14H1 claim of insufficient losing chances here. So if you feel that claim is clearly incorrect, you should deny it and may subtract up to 1 minute from the claimant's remaining time. After the claimant's clock is started, 14H draw request by the claimant also becomes a draw offer and all that fun stuff. Okay, so we know this. Remember, the claim is clearly incorrect. Huge clue as to what's coming up. So let's get on to the trivia question. It's a little bit of a mouthful for the question, but you can go ahead and type your answer 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat. So Bob has 3 minutes remaining on his digital time delay clock set with a 5-second delay. He is on move 55 in a 40 and 90 game in 30 delay 5 contest. Bob claims a draw based on insufficient losing chances against Trevor, who has 15 minutes left on his clock. Bob claims the position is a buck draw. Trevor claims he can win the game. As the tournament director, you believe both players have a valid point and show which of them is correct. What should you rule? 1.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy. Are we denying Bob's claim because he's already using a time delay clock? Subtract 1 minute from Bob's clock, but Bob's draw claim becomes a draw offer and the game continues? 2, we're denying Bob's claim because he's already using a time delay clock. This time we're adding 2 minutes to Trevor's clock. Bob's draw claim becomes a draw offer. 3, are we going to inform Trevor that Bob's claim is the same as a draw offer and wait until Trevor rejects the claim and then adjust Bob's time so he has 1 minute remaining in the game, leave Trevor's time alone, and the game continues? Are we going to inform Trevor that Bob's claim is the same as a draw offer, and again, if Trevor rejects the claim, we're going to adjust Bob's time so he has 2 minutes remaining, and then leave Trevor's time alone? The game continues. One of these is right, or one of these is a better answer than the others. Let's put it that way. So let's see, what have we got?
I got 2 answers. You talk about draw claim on each one of them, so that doesn't help me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing we all learn, right? If someone makes a draw claim, it's a draw offer, right?
Right.
So,
And then you
you
got
can
this whole 2
you
minute
can
and 1 minute
resolve
thing.
all the issues right there and then. But it sounds like
Right.
Trevor feels he can win this position, so I don't think he wants to accept the draw.
And then you talk about adding and subtracting. So you got some math here too,
Some
Chris.
math as well, I know.
2 minutes, 1 minute, you didn't talk about that.
I did. Did you miss me?
I must have been, spaced here.
Dreaming. Remember,
Oh, is it?
I said if it's clearly an incorrect claim, you may subtract a number of minutes from the clock.
I was just admiring all those TD badges on your board.
Oh yeah, you like those? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. We got some different answers coming in.
We do. Zuxworth answered 1.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try.
Oh, come on. You were going to pronounce objection. Alia EJ goes with number 1. NTD Harold S goes with... I think they were holding off on their votes to let everyone else
they were
vote
holding off.
first.
Everyone's going to come with ones now.
Maybe they were copying for everyone else's vote.
I think they were copying.
Oof,
I don't like the answer. What answer do you like, EJ?
He probably likes 1, but don't subtract any time because he's nice.
Yeah.
Meanie.
Yeah, the time thing is just so confusing.
See, look, winner. You're so nice. You shouldn't be in this TD gig. You're too nice for it. Gotta learn to forfeit people, Enrique. All right, we've got 8 votes in.
Yeah.
I think we have a change of heart on one, but let's go ahead and
let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's go.
So, so Bob's claim is denied because he is already using a time delay clock. So there's no claim that he can make. And then, so the real question is, do you subtract a minute or do you add 2 minutes? And the rule is to subtract a minute from Bob's clock. Bob's draw claim becomes a draw offer. It's number 1.
So remember, this procedure is not available for games in which clock is being used with either time delay or the increment properly set. So no claim of insufficient losing chances can be made with a delay in the game. We say here, right at the start, Bob has a digital delay clock set with a 5-second delay. He's on move 55 in a delay 5, so you can't possibly go with 3 or 4. You're going to deny Bob's claim automatically. And here the rule says that you may subtract up to 1 minute from the claimant's remaining time, which is why I said go with the best answer, not necessarily what would be your right answer. But if the claim is clearly incorrect, which it is in this instance, you deny the claim and subtract the 1 minute from Bob's clock. Oh, you can subtract 1 minute from Bob's clock.
You can subtract.
You may subtract up to 1 minute from Bob's clock. Oops, let me, sorry, we got 1 vote in for the next question already. Let me go ahead and close off the poll for the next question because we haven't seen it yet. So you may subtract 1 minute. Now, one thing, what Jeff Weevil pointed out to me was a nefarious TD could deny the claim just because based on the fact he's got 3 minutes left, because you need at least you've got to have less than 2 minutes is the threshold for an insufficient losing chances claim. So he could deny the claim at this point, subtract a minute, and tell him, hey, you need 2 minutes on the clock, and then at 2 minutes when he makes the claim again, you could then deny it because he's using a delay and subtract a further minute at that point. Yeah, it's like very convoluted way to get 2 minutes off this guy's clock. But yeah, so remember, if someone is there's a delay on the clock already, they can't claim insufficient losing chances claim. However, it's still a draw offer, right? So it's still a draw claim. Even an invalid one is still a draw offer. So make sure you always offer that draw.
And as far as EJ's comment on it's clearly a wrong claim, some people will try to, make a claim, whether they know it's a wrong claim or not, but just to pause the game so they can analyze, especially if they're in time trouble. So it is important to use your judgment and penalize them if they're trying to take advantage of the rules.
Exactly. All right, let's get on to... there's one more question, folks. One more question, and we're done. I know tonight has been long because of the delay we had at the start. But this is another important rule that people get wrong. Yes, it involves a little bit of math again. So let's go with... watch out if you're posting numbers in the chat because you're going to answer the poll. So vote 1, 2, 3, or 4. Sorry. Let me close the poll off because we haven't even got to the question yet. Team chess. Let's go over the rules. 31B, player rankings. Players on a team are ranked in order of their rating, according to rating, right? So team chess, players are ranked according to rating. The higher rated players play on a lower board numbers. That means board 1 would be your highest rated player. Alternates must be lower rated than regular team members. Unrated players, unless assigned ratings, must play on higher numbered boards than rated players. Now, when we say higher numbered boards, we mean if it's a 4 board match, they mean board 4. Okay, not lower board. You know, it's like lower board numbers meaning board 1, higher board numbers meaning board 4. Whereas we term the higher board to be board 1, and it's a little bit backwards. But anyway, so remember this. So players on a team, so you put them in rating order. That's your team, right? Any alternates must be lower than all the rest of the players in terms of rating. And then the team rating, teams are ranked in order of the average of individual ratings of the rated regulars and not alternates. Okay, so this to me says because we've seen the order of the players here, right, we have to use the rated regulars, which would be higher players than the alternates. Okay, unrated players do not affect the team's average rating. Let's get on to the question. So, I'm going to open up the poll here. 1, 2, 3, or 4. 5 players enter a 4-board team event. Axel, Brian, Chris, Dave, and Ernie. You can see their ratings. Go from 2300, 22, 21, 2000, 1900. Brian, who is rated 2200, will play only 1 round when he fills in for Dave in the final round. What is the team's average rating, and on which board must Brian play when he comes in for that 1 round? A little bit of math to do.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can add some numbers and divide by 4, 5. What are we dividing by here?
I don't know. I mean, these names were in the Swiss tournament earlier, Chris.
They were. They had different ratings. They've all
and
magically
now they all
ended
teamed up.
They've all magically ended up with nice round number ratings. They're obviously sat in their floors, maybe. Prize floors.
Oh, we got some answers coming in.
Yep.
Harold tried to trick people. He gave 2 answers.
I know. He came up with his oops too early, I think. We're trying to see how many lemmings we have. Did you used to play that computer game, Lemmings?
Yeah.
Where they followed each other off the cliff.
Now we're going way back, Chris.
Oops. Showing my age. Farmville. Yeah. Farmville, much more popular, right?
Yeah, there you go. I always played ICC, Chris. What are you talking about?
Right. FICS. Fix. That was too cheap for ICC.
Yeah. That was the best.
All right. Do we have any more votes? Folks, this is the last question of the night, I promise. Last question. And we've covered all 9 of the areas that people suffer with in these tests. And hopefully no one will get them wrong anymore. And we only have 17 viewers. I think we missed a bunch because of all our technical issues at the start, unfortunately.
We were doing so great.
I know.
Well, they're going to miss out on the special reward at the end.
There is one? I'd like to win. I should have been doing the trivia.
Right. All right, what do you think, Chris?
All right. Last call at the bar. going to close it off.
All right.
Various people voted for various things, but I think a lot of them wanted to change their mind. So I have no idea who voted for what.
So let's talk about the average team rating. So we've got 5 people here, but we're going to take the top 4 ratings. So 23 plus 22 plus 21 plus 20 divided by 4 gets us the 2150 rating.
But John, Brian's an alternate.
Aha, but he's still considered as part of the team rating.
Right. He can't be an alternate because he would be higher rated than some of the other teams. So he would not be
right.
an alternate. Who's the alternate, though?
Ernie is the alternate.
But he's
playing all the games.
All the games.
Such a tricky question.
It is.
And then as far as the next part of it, he's only going to play which round and fill in for Dave. Since he's the second highest rated, he gets to play board 2. So answer is number 3.
Exactly. So we took the average of the 4 highest rated players in the event. They become our regulars. The lowest guy becomes the alternate. And Brian must fill in where his rating says he fills in. So if Dave is the one missing out, the team becomes Axel, Brian, Chris, and Ernie. So Brian would go to board 2. Yeah, perfect. Everyone, I think most people just about got that one right.
So
if you got it wrong,
I think the highest score we had was like an 89%. So, we would have passed the test.
Was there one that we got 100%? I thought there was one question where everyone got it right.
We got one question where everybody got it wrong. So
just about everybody. Right? Folks, that is it for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Sincere apologies for all the technical issues at the start. Who knew that was all going to happen? Thank you to Windows Updates for those technical issues. And hopefully they're all resolved because I have another show to do in the morning. Again, thank you all for tuning in. I really, really, really hoped that you learned something here tonight by watching this show, by working through some of the questions. And these are, like I said, these 9 areas here that we covered tonight are the problem children that definitely people... So over 50% of the answers that we get for all of these areas are wrong. So definitely think about these when you're doing the club and local TD test. The answers are all in the rules. So, if you look at the rules, but it's open book tests, but people are still getting them wrong. Hence why we wanted to do the show and cover some of these areas to hopefully put people on the right path. So when I mark future tests that are coming in, I don't expect to see any of these answers incorrect. John, thank you very much for imparting your wisdom on us, for providing us with all the answers here and how to get to those answers, and for just basically showing up and bearing with me during 20 minutes of panic. There's the panic flashed across my eyes. Only you could see it, but yes, it's been great.
Well, thanks for having me, and yeah, it's been a good time. I appreciate it, and I appreciate our viewers out there too.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. One last plug for events for chess for John. So if you're interested in chess registration system for your events, eventsforchess.com, and go there, check it out. I use it for all of my morning membership events. It works swimmingly most of the time. No, all the time.
Thanks, Chris.
And yeah, it's been great. So thanks a lot, folks, for tuning in, and we look forward to catching you at a future episode of the TD Show. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.